What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar approaching today, when we have some data coming out that could affect Tesla and the markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with Tesla. Looking at Tesla, as you guys could tell, we're trying to make higher lows so far, and we're attempting to break out and to try to hold above this 280 area. If Tesla could hold above this support now, this is previous resistance becoming support, we could be on our way to slowly uptrend for 295. That's going to be another very, very key level, and eventually 300 is going to be coming next. Now, if we can't hold this 280 area, there's going to be a risk of us declining back down to these lows. We did see the market pull back a bit, then it continued to bounce this morning. So far, the bulls have a bigger edge, but be careful as we hit some new resistance on Tesla. So, what's happening so far? The first thing you have to remember is we had two big catalysts for Tesla yesterday. Tesla saying it's going to be releasing its FSD features in China upon their next regulatory approvals. And this is some very, very big news because this is going to help them continue to develop this technology over there in China. And then they're also going to be collecting data over there. So this is what helped Tesla push. There's also news involving President Trump, as he talked about how he could be giving many countries breaks on tariffs. Those are his exact words. And then he also talked about how he wants to announce more tariffs on automotives and other products, but he is saying that he's not going to be as, I would say, broad as before. He might be more narrow with those picks, and simultaneously, he's willing to be a lot more flexible. So that's what President Trump said. That's what's helping Tesla and the broader markets, at least for now. So that's why Tesla has a lot of momentum. Is trying to push right now. When it comes to other pieces of news, I think BYD announced their earnings. They had about $100 billion in revenue, which is good for them. But I just want to make it clear that mainstream media is always going to be comparing BYD with Tesla. It doesn't really make sense to do that because they're different companies at the end of the day. So it's possible BYD surpasses Tesla in terms of some sales, in terms of revenue for the time being. But then you have to remember that Tesla's not just a car company. Tesla's also developing their robotaxi. And I do believe Tesla's way ahead of almost any other company on the planet. So things could be very, very different in a couple of years from now when they start launching their robotaxi and different factors like that. But I want to just say that it's very important to compare companies to their previous performances. Don't compare every company to every other company all the time. I just don't really like to do that because, like I said before, BYD and Tesla are very different companies. But mainstream media will do this just so that they could make Tesla look bad. They always want to do that. That's just their biases. So keep that in mind. There's also been some talk about the European sales that have slowed down for Tesla, down about 40% relative to a year ago for the month of February. I think that so far they're not looking as strong. Hopefully, the Model Y refresh could improve things to some extent, and we'll see how things end up going, at least moving forward. But as far as Tesla's going, we're still seeing negative headlines about the European sales, so keep that in mind. When it comes to today, I just want to say that today is Tuesday, March 25th, okay, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We basically have some important data that's going to be coming out. We have consumer confidence that's going to impact the way the market moves, not to mention the Richmond Fed manufacturing numbers that may cause some volatility. So expect some high volatility at 10 a.m. Will the market see a bit of a rejection? Will the market rally even more? It depends on these manufacturing numbers for the most part, and then consumer confidence. So get ready 30 minutes after the stock market opens. To add on to this, I want to say that we also happen to have some earnings. So we have like GameStop, Dollar Tree, Chewy, Lululemon, and a bunch of others. So keep that in mind for our earnings. And then moving forward, there's nothing else that's too crazy coming out on the news. President Trump has been hyping up April 2nd. So we'll see what happens at least there and then. And then we'll see if he announces more tariffs or not over the next couple of days. We'll just see about that. So far, I'm not seeing anything new. Besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy on the news. I was just trying to look through this. And with that being said, let's just focus on the charts. So as far as Tesla goes, it's not about can Tesla run more. It's more about can we hold above this 280 area. It's going to be a previous resistance becoming support. If 280 does not hold, Tesla could retest 273.5. If not, 265, if that doesn't hold. I don't think it's going to dip that much, but I do think we have to be very careful here. If we hold 280, I think we could continue to run back up for at least the 290 area. 295 would be our next potential target. So it depends. Can we hold support up here or not? And can we get a nice continuation? I think that we will ultimately get back up to 300, but for the short term, we'll see how it ends up reacting here if we get a little bit of a shuffle. I did predict that that was likely what would happen in my previous video. The reason I say that is because we don't know what's going to happen with the manufacturing numbers that are coming out. So get ready for some volatility at 10 a.m. But either way, this is what I believe is going to happen. Either we're going to see Tesla just rocket back up to about 295, or instead or if we get some kind of pullback move, we just kind of shuffle between 275 and 280 for some time, and then we get that rocket later on, right? It's got to be one of those two, most likely, as long as we end up holding above 274 where the wick is right over here. So we'll see if we get a little bit of a shuffle first before it tries to break out higher, or if we just break out from here. The chart looks bullish. It does look like it wants to go higher, but before we start to run really hard to get back up to 295, we'll see if we get a little shuffle here in the 280 to 275 area. We'll see about that first before we get some kind of move higher, right? Like I said before, it depends on these manufacturing numbers, so get ready just to be safe. Okay, so what is Tesla doing? I think that's we'll see what the reaction is if we get some kind of consolidation first before it tries to break out higher. But nonetheless, it's still bullish. Okay, it's very, very bullish. The same thing can be said about SPY. So I believe SPY will push for 580 soon. However, before that happens, let's see if it can break and hold above 575. That's going to be a tough resistance. We'll see what the data leads to. We do have consumer confidence coming out, which might not be the best, but the manufacturing numbers could save things. Do we get a little bit of a shuffle here first before we break out for 580, or do we just hold above 575 and shoot straight up to that 580 area? I'm going to be watching to see these as the two most likely possibilities. So make sure you watch your charts very carefully. The main support is going to be between that 570 and 568 area. The resistance is going to be at 575. If we break that, I want to see us push for that 580 area. So do we push directly to 580, or do we shuffle first and then break out for it? So watch that very, very closely. Overall, we have a nice setup, kind of like an inverse head and shoulders. We do look a bit more bullish. We'll see if we shuffle first before it tries to break out, but I do think we eventually hit 580. Whether we get a consolidation move first before it breaks out to 580, or if it just breaks out from here, like I said before, it depends on the reaction to the manufacturing numbers and consumer confidence. For the QQQ looks bullish. We're hitting 492 exactly as you predicted. However, before we just break out and try to go closer to like 495 and 500, we will see if we consolidate like this first. Do we consolidate first before it breaks out like this, or do we just break past 492 to push for 500? We'll have to see just to be safe, as we have a double bottom here. And we'll see what this leads to. So if we break 492, we're looking for an attempt to push for the much higher 490s. So I'll be watching that very closely. We might see a consolidation move between, in the 490 area. We might consolidate first before we break out for 495 plus. So keep that in mind. For the Russell 2000, we also have kind of like an inverse head and shoulders like structure. We have an imbalance up here. So we're looking to see if we can break out for like 212 and eventually back up towards that like 213.5 area. If we reject here and we don't hold 207, we could turn back down towards like 205. So it could go either way. We're watching to see if we make a higher low here. We might retest this breakout area in the 207s before it tries to go higher. This is a bullish setup for sure. This is looking bullish with the inverse head and shoulders. As long as we don't end up losing like 205, I think there's a good chance we try to go higher. So we'll see if we do a little consolidation move first, like this, before it breaks out for that 200 EMA, or if we just break out straight from there, depending on our data. But overall, it's bullish. Whether we consolidate first or not, we look bullish. Looking at ES, it's very bullish looking. It's trying to break out of this channel. We could be looking for an attempt to get up to about 58.50, then 58.73 as our resistances. If we turn back down, lose 5,800, we could actually end up hitting 57.65. So watch that very, very closely with this inverse head and shoulders. I do think we look bullish nonetheless, though. There's a good chance we try to continue to uptrend for 58.50, then eventually 58.73. So it could dip here and then continue to uptrend towards that resistance. If we lose support at 5,800, we could turn back down. My gut tells me we have to consolidate a bit, then break out, or we just break out from here. NQ, same setup, looks bullish. Could be looking for 20,700 as a target if we hold above 20,400. If we lose 20,300, though, we could turn back down to 20,150. Looks bullish nonetheless. For Bitcoin, we're bullish. I just want to see us hold above 88,000. If that's the case, we're going to continue this push. Let me just go over a few more real quick. Nvidia is looking quite good. We need to just hold it between 118 and 120. As long as that holds, we're looking for an attempt for 125. If we lose 117, we could turn back down, but this is still looking like an inverse head and shoulders. And we could be looking for an attempt to get up to 125. For Tesla, we're looking bullish, like I said before, but we just have to see if we could hold above 280. If that's the case, I expect this to continue. Apple's looking bullish. As long as you hold above 220, we're looking for an attempt for 225. For Coinbase, we're looking pretty good. As long as we hold above 202, we're looking for an attempt for 213. As long as we don't lose 200, we're looking pretty good. Amazon looks bullish. So long as we don't lose 200, we're favoring 208. Meta's looking decent. As long as we don't end up losing 615, we're favoring 630 plus. For Microsoft, we look bullish. So long as we don't lose 389, we're favoring 397. And Google's looking bullish. So long as we don't lose 168, we're favoring 172 plus as we look more bullish. The VIX is looking bearish. We have a head and shoulders like structure continuing to fall, especially as we have this imbalance down here. So this is bearish as the market remains bullish. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Tesla is bullish, but we'll see if we get a consolidation move first before it breaks out higher or not. It could just try to break out from here. But be a little bit careful for now. Just see what the reaction is to stand. As long as we're above 280, we will continue. If 280 does not hold, we might just consolidate where this wick is. So we're going to be looking for that next support down there and that like 274 area first before we get some kind of breakout. Okay. So we're bullish, but we'll give this some time just for confirmation. I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good one. I'll be back very, very soon with another update. Have a good day. Get ready and peace out.